Hello everyone! In today's new video I'll be exploring a somewhat new topic for the channel. We'll dive into selection and comparison. I hope to help you choose what suits you best. We'll compare two different bead weaving techniques, Peyote Stitch and Brick Stitch. We'll do this using the same miniature pattern, a mitten. Be sure to watch this video until the end and look for information on the screen about how to get these winter patterns for free. There's an instruction hidden somewhere in the video. Let's get started! I absolutely love miniature patterns. They are incredibly versatile and adorable, and you can use them in various ways to create pendants, brooches, earrings, pins, and many other options. The only limit is your imagination. I often see discussions in the comments about which method is better for weaving them. Today I'll compare many criteria, pros and cons, so you can decide which option suits you best. First, let's talk a bit about the techniques. The mosaic or peyote stitch is worked in horizontal rows. Each new bead is added between the beads of the previous row, creating a mosaic pattern. The method resembles a zigzag. The beads are positioned so that each subsequent bead fits into the gap between the two previous ones. There are two subtypes of this technique, even and odd count, based on the number of beads in the width of your piece. If your piece is very wide and you can't quickly count the beads, pay attention to the edge of the pattern. It will indicate the subtype of the peyote stitch. The odd count peyote stitch is very easy to weave, and transitioning from row to row doesn't pose any difficulties. However, the even count peyote is more challenging as it involves additional steps with the thread and needle. Despite this, it allows for more beautiful symmetrical patterns. These types of weaving are widely used for making bracelets, stars, and earrings. By the way, in a previous video we created a Christmas star using the mosaic weaving technique with some unique features. I recommend checking it out. When it comes to weaving miniatures, you'll likely need to use both transition techniques, meaning you'll need to be familiar with both variants. This is because in most cases the width of the miniature piece tends to increase or decrease. Brick stitch is woven in vertical rows. Each new bead is sewn above the previous one and attached with thread to the base of the preceding row. The beads are positioned closely together like bricks in a wall, which is where the technique gets its name. Transitioning from row to row is very easy if you don't mind how the edge of your piece looks, whether or not there are visible threads. However, if you're a perfectionist like me, you'll need to maneuver the needle back and forth to ensure the edges of your piece look flawless and free of extra threads. There's already a very detailed tutorial about this on my channel, which I highly recommend watching. Brick stitch is the most common technique for weaving miniatures, though it's considerably more time-consuming. But we'll talk about time a bit later. Let's start with the pattern, specifically how it's adapted for different techniques. First, you need to examine the pattern and its shape. The easiest way to begin weaving is by identifying the widest part of the pattern. For the peyote technique, the beads should be positioned vertically, while for the brick stitch they should be horizontal. If you're using only a graphical representation of the pattern, you can easily rotate it to align with the technique you need. However, if you plan to use only a word chart, lettered symbols of the pattern without an image, switching techniques won't be possible. With just a quick glance at a pattern, an experienced handmader can immediately determine the best technique for weaving a miniature. The more protruding parts there are from the main center of the weave, the harder it will be to execute it using only the peyote technique. Here's a visual example of the techniques I would choose shown on the screen. First row. The main challenge in the peyote technique is correctly stringing the first row of beads. When starting, you need to account for 2 rows simultaneously and ensure you don't get confused with their sequence. In the brick stitch, the difficulty is more technical. You need to tighten the first row well to avoid any gaps between the beads, ensuring they don't end up in a zigzag pattern. The next criterion is weaving time. When comparing the speed of weaving, there's a clear winner, the peyote technique. This is because to secure each bead we need to perform far fewer steps than in the brick stitch. After calculating the time it takes to weave one bead, I arrived at the following result, which you can see on the screen. I want to note that I was weaving at a relaxed pace without rushing. Additionally, I was periodically adjusting the shots and filming the process. So in reality, this time can be further improved. Strengths. The clear favorite here is brick stitch. Even when comparing items by touch, it's immediately obvious which piece holds its shape better and is more durable. To make a peyote piece sturdier, or to help it maintain its shape, you should pass the threads through the finished work in different directions. Thread. The threads usage are greater in the brick stitch. Also, for brick stitch it's better not to use thick thread, as it will be very visible in the spaces between the beads and the pattern won't appear seamless. In this case, a thin thread is more suitable. As for the peyote technique, there are no specific limitations regarding thread thickness. You can use either a thick or thin thread, depending on your preference. For the beads, if you want your piece to have a perfect shape, I recommend using Japanese Miyuki Delica beads. They have a cylindrical, even shape, which makes them ideal for both techniques. As for check or other types of oval beads, it's better to carefully calibrate them and use only the brick stitch technique. The weaving will be less even and have gaps, but it will still look good. In the peyote technique, it would be more difficult to achieve a smooth result, because the space is always limited by 2 beads from the previous row. If there is any irregularity in one of them, it could distort all subsequent rows of the bead, simply won't fit in the space at all. I suggest taking a closer look at the weaving process itself. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching the video until the end. I believe we've covered all the main criteria that I usually consider and recommend to you. Personally, I choose based on the pattern and sometimes my mood. I even combine both techniques for either edge finishing. Now that you know all the details, you can make your own choice. Which weaving technique has become your favorite? I'll be waiting for your answers in the comments. And for everyone who watched the video till the end, I have a bonus. Send me a direct message on my Instagram with the code word Mitten, and I'll send you a link to a Google Drive where you'll find the patterns in PDF format from today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'd appreciate a subscription and a like on the video. See you next time. Bye bye.